All right, 8 o'clock. We're gonna get rolling in about 60 seconds. Don't have a really good way of tracking people, so what I'm gonna ask you to do is in the chat, your first and last name and your IHSA ID number. We'll use this to keep track of the meetings. We have the next, this week and the next 5 weeks coming up for meetings. We're going to do them all in this same format here. In order to receive the IHSA credit, you need to attend at least 4 of them. I would prefer you please join all 6 of them if you can. I understand that some people have a lot of different things going on. We are recording these. We will put them on the website. If you do watch them on the website towards the end of the presentation, we'll do something for you to kind of keep track of it so we can make sure that you are held accountable for what you watch. As far as I got so much stuff going on. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let's see if I can zoom in. Essentially, this is our level 2. This year, we kind of want to go back to basics. Is our goal is going back to basics. So in the 6 meetings, they'll all last between 45 minutes and an hour. Today is going to be new rules and face-offs. There were some significant changes with the face-off procedures. Tom Cummings is going to go ahead and lead those. Next week, I'm going to present on technical fouls and principle of advantage and disadvantage, something that helps us out game flow tremendously. Following up on Valentine's Day, and we'll kind of have to play this by ear. Scott Rogowski is currently planning on talking about personal fouls and consistency on fouls, how we can, be consistent throughout the entire the game. And then on the 21st, President's Day, we're going to do a topic on pregame, and then just a topic on mechanics and where we can get better in 2 and 3 man mechanics. D. Ray Tucker from down in Champaign area, he's going to do the topic on pregame. And then Tom Ellis is just going to briefly touch on some mechanic issues there and what we can do to get better and consistent in 2 and 3 man mechanics. Bob Walters on the 28th will be talking on penalty enforcement. And then on March 5th, Nitin Rao is going to talk about game management and professionalism. So those are our kind of topics for this season, what we're going to do. Again, for those of us that just joined late, I'm going to ask you to put your IHSA ID number. Hugh Jorgen. I don't know if that's a real name.
Yeah, I'm not letting that one in, Jeremy.
You can message him and say, "Hey, dude, what's your you put your real name on there?" Hey,
I don't think I'm letting that one in.
Yeah, so
I mean, that's all right. Feel free. If you can message the waiting room and say, "Hey, put your real name on there." But again, in order to receive credit, I know most of us, again, just going through the GLLOA. What I'd like you to do, make sure you're registered and paid for GLLOA. At the end of that, at the end of these 6 meetings, we'll submit your name to the IHSA for credit. So if you have questions about that, feel free to ask me. We can kind of talk about that. And without further ado, I'm going to pop up the new rules, and I'm going to share my screen and slideshow.
Can I run the screen, Jeremy?
Can you run the screen? I have to make you a co-host, and you have to open up the.
No, just go down, Jeremy. Just go down to share. Here, I can do it from here. Multiple participants can share. There we go.
So if I hit share screen, will it come up?
Yeah, you should be able to do it now.
Are we sure we wouldn't let Tom Cummings try this?
He doesn't. Yeah, he's got a brand new computer. Don't worry. Oh wait, no, he doesn't.
yeah, how do I look at the?
Can you see anything?
The chat. Here.
No.
Can't see it.
I can share it, Tom, and you can just tell me when to hit next, if that's okay with you. And then you can see the screen too and talk if you're good with that.
I'm just thinking it would be easier, wouldn't it? Here.
You have permission. You have permission to do it if you can get it to work.
Well, tell me how to do it.
Oh,
I did it last year.
Just a reminder, you only have an hour.
I
Yeah.
know. I know.
All right.
Okay.
So there's a green share screen,
Yeah, I hit share screen.
and then you click on the screen you want to share, and then you got to go to, so like screen 1 or screen 2, whatever it says, and then you got to click share again on the bottom now. There's a blue share button.
Get this. I got my presentation up. So what am I looking? No?
No, Tom, you know what, for sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and share mine and we'll just roll from there, okay?
Okay, whatever.
And then, so, and then. Does everybody see my screen up there with the?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna mute myself. And Tom Cummings,
How are you gonna know how to advance it?
I'll just kind of listen to you and anticipate when it's ready to advance.
Okay, go ahead, advance. All right, so this is a tough situation. We did ref last year, so I'm just gonna quickly go through the 2020 point of emphasis. Basically, all right, I can't see the whole screen, Jeremy, because your pictures are on the right side. Can I get rid of those guys? Yeah. You're in my way. Okay. So basically, you're no longer going to get penalize a team for having. See, I can't see this whole thing. You guys are screwing me up.
hey,
All right.
Tom,
Yeah.
check in your upper right-hand corners, the view button. Switch
Yeah.
that to gallery with, what's it say? Gallery with photos on the side, I think is what it says. It's the third one down. That should make it to where it's a whole screen. Side by side gallery.
It doesn't say that.
You have a view button in the top right corner, right?
I do.
Yeah.
So here it
Tap it.
is. Okay, I at least I can see the screen now. Big thing last year or 2 years ago was restarts. Basically, we all should be familiar with that. Defending player on any restart shall establish a 5-yard distance. If you don't establish a 5-yard distance, you can't obscure his direct path to the goal. Once the distance has been established, the defender can play the ball. Go ahead and go to the next one. These are all reviews. Big thing was thrown across under any circumstance. All right, is a 1 to 3 non-releasable unsportsmanlike conduct. They don't want people throwing crosses. If you throw a cross in frustration or it's a poor player coach cross exchange, it's a 30-second technical foul. Switch forward. We have an official's timeout for concussion-like symptoms. Biggest thing 2 years ago was every penalty for cross violations is 2 minutes, and the cross can be adjusted and returned to the game. And every cross on the bench area can be inspected, and it doesn't have to be used in a game. So if a coach is warming up a player, he should take the stick and put it in his bag. All right, because it can be actually on a stick request, it can be classified as illegal. Go ahead, next one. All right, they tried to point out sportsmanship is important. Coaches and players' commitment to respect the game. All right, discuss sportsmanship with players and assistants. Basically, 2021, we're all about head and neck contact, all about safety, defenseless players, targeting defenseless players. Keep going. All right. The pace of play was emphasized in 2021 with the quick restarts. The new restart rules were defined. We don't have to step back and tell players to move back 5 yards. They should know that automatically. And they clarified some stalling rules. The future equipment and uniform changes are now in effect for this year. It was the goalkeeper chest protectors, the shoulder pads for this year, and now the home team are required to wear white jerseys. All right, keep going. So the 2022 lacrosse rule changes. All right, These are just basically reflecting on the dimensions of the field in the rule book for the unified field. It's just clarifying it. We don't need to know that. Switch, next one. All right. Again, safety has been very important to the NFHS. All right. So we're now requiring all players to have a protective cup. All right. The rules, we will not inspect for a protective cup. Okay. It should be verified when the coach are properly equipped. All right, next. Okay, timekeepers. All right, the timekeepers can sound the horn if a player enters the field from the penalty area too soon, or if a head coach requests a count of long sticks. Okay, we understand that we don't want responsibilities for the timekeepers because they're all volunteered. They're not trained in the responsibilities and duties of the officials. But on the dead ball, they can hit the horn and they can ask you, tell you that a player left early or that they would like a long count. Next. All right. Another important change for this year. We now have a running clock. All right. After the first half and when the score reaches 12 goals. Then the clock will only be stopped for a timeout, an official's timeout, a team timeout, or an injury timeout. The penalties will still be running time. So it's going to be important for us to monitor when we restart the clock and then yell what time that player will be released on a penalty, because the running time will still be afforded during the penalty time. All right, so we have to wait till the second half. We have to get 12 goals. All right. It doesn't have to be the fourth quarter. It has to be the second half. And once we achieve it, we will continue with the running clock. If they go below the 12 goals, it doesn't make any difference. We will still have a running clock. Next slide. Okay. Big change this year for us. All right. We will start face-offs by placing the ball at midfield because of COVID. We're still going to put the ball down first. And then we're going to have the players come up when we say go down together. But now the players will stand and they will remain standing. All right. Important thing is we still need to have the crosses and the gloves resting on the ground. I found that the players are not resting their hands on the ground. So knuckles are not on the grounds and they will be quicker. So we want to pay attention to that. We want to be consistent as a group. All right. And that's why we're doing this. All right. So this is a repeat line in here that I crossed out on my original one, but all fingers of both hands shall be gloved and wrapped around the cross. The cross head and the gloved hand shall be touching the ground. The hand closest to the throat shall be in a palm up position. All right. So we have to make note of that, and may make players uncomfortable because they're not used to doing this at the high school level. And then we're going to verbally move the players to their position. The biggest thing here is that we need to get the ball in the middle of the heads of the crosses. So if the players line up inappropriately, we need to tell them, move your head, stick to the left or right. Now, we can be a little bit, in other words, if we have a varsity team, we may not want to explain it as many times. But with the lower level teams, we need to be teaching these players what the proper position is. And sometimes that's a confusion with our referees, because we're going to the tip of the stick to the ball stop, and players don't understand where the ball stop is. They're going to the tip of the head, and that does not line the stick ups correctly. So we got to make sure that the sticks are lined up. So when we place the ball in the middle, that it's a fair and even face-off. All right, once we're satisfied with that positioning, then we're going to instruct the players to remain motionless by saying set. And then we proceed with our face-offs. Next. So the second element of this is that we are telling the players that they must attempt to play the ball before they body check their opponent. They must be able to play the ball or the player's stick. They cannot play the player, okay? And another rule that's affected by this is that we've also changed the rule to say that we cannot body check a player on the ground or in a crouch position. That is now a bigger penalty, all right? So to make faceoffs safe and fair, ensure the faceoffs are playing the ball and not the body, all right? All right. So we can stick check their sticks, but not their body. Okay, next. Okay. The wing areas shall be released, but must avoid body checking the face-off players that are battling control at the initial face-off. All right, I don't think I've ever seen this happen with players standing. It used to happen when guys were on the ground on their knees. But basically, the big key here is that we can't check their body. If their sticks are on the ground, we could still check their sticks. Okay. But because the players are on the ground, they're in a vulnerable position. So we want to make sure that the wing players do not check bodies if they're still in the initial face-off position. Next. All right. These are just clarifications that we should all know already. But a note has been added that if a ball in the air on a pass or a shot, it's a loose ball at all times. So I think what happens is at the end of the period, somebody will be making a pass down the field, the ball's in the air and the horn goes off. And officials have been calling this in possession if it's caught on the other end of the pass. And that's not the rule. The rule is that at that point, the ball is loose. All right. It's in the air. It's a loose ball. Next. All right. Big thing here is we talked about this in the lower level meeting. A goal can be disallowed if the ball is deflected or batted off the free hand or glove of an offensive player. Okay. All right. So if we look down here in the red, it says the general principle is that the gloved hand is part of the stick in most cases. The exception being when the determining player has crossed the line. Okay. We can have a goal if the ball deflects off the hand or glove on the stick. That goal can count. But if at any time the hand is not on the stick, that's a free hand, a free glove, all right, you cannot have a goal. All right. Now the goalie is allowed to bat the ball but not grab it, and he's the only one on the field. Anybody else that bats the ball with the free hand, basically it's a dead ball. And we're going to give it to the opposing team. All right. Officials timeouts. All right. So this is going to cause an interesting situation. Anytime a player loses mandatory equipment in the scrimmage area, if I have possession of the ball and I lose a shoe, I will kill the ball as a referee and the team will maintain that possession. If the ball is loose and I lose a shoe or glove and the ball is outside the crease, we're going to award by the alternating possession rule. If the ball is loose inside the crease, we're going to award it to the defensive team. If a player not in possession of the ball, one of my teammates loses any mandatory equipment, okay, and there's no other players in the vicinity, then we can let the play continue. If the player in possession of the ball loses mandatory equipment, we have to stop play immediately, okay, whether there are other players in the immediate vicinity or not. So I had a situation I was telling people. A couple years ago, guy behind the net, okay, loses his shoe, there's nobody by him. In this situation, we have to kill it immediately. In every situation, if you lose a piece of equipment and you have the ball, you have to kill the play. Okay, now, all of this should not be confused with a player that's entering the game without some type of mandatory equipment. That's a foul. All right, okay, next.
Question, Tom, with this one here.
Yeah.
So during a scrum for the ball, loose ball, and a player loses their cross.
I think across, I'm thinking the mandatory equipment is more equipment being I'd have to check this for sure, but I'm thinking it's, it's your glove, it's your helmet, it's your shoe, it's your elbow pad. I'm thinking a cross, because then we're gonna have people start throwing their crosses down, saying, well, he has a free pass to the goalie. I'm just gonna lose my stick.
Not a problem. That's why I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
that's what I'm thinking there. Okay. Okay. So again, we're going back to the checks involving the head and neck or defenseless player. That was a safety issue last year. It's still a safety issue. And they just added the prohibition of body checking a player while they're on the ground in a defenseless position. So basically, we've all seen that, the guy's on the ground and somebody, he's trying to get the ball and he just decides to check him and he's on the ground. Now we have at least a 2 or 3 minute penalty for body checking a player that's on the ground, because that's what that ruling is. It's 2 or 3 minutes. So the goalie who decides to check somebody behind the net, he's going to have to go serve 2 or 3 minutes.
And that's locked in because it's a defenseless player.
That's a locked in. Yep. Go ahead. Next. Okay. So again, I don't know what this is. Basically, failure to hit. I think it's just the wording in the rule book. All right. You got to have some kind of tooth or mouth protector. I guess it doesn't have to be a specific mouthpiece. It just makes the language consistent. And again, if you don't have a mouthpiece, it's a 30-second technical, or you award the ball to the other team. So if the ball's loose, you're going to award the ball. Okay. All right. Penalty time. This has been something that I've actually put in every exam for the last 5 years. It's stacking players. Okay. If you have a maximum of 3 players from the same team can be in the penalty area serving penalty at the same time. So if you have 3 guys in there and actually you have 4 guys that are supposed to be in the penalty area, one guy is going to sit there on the side. He's turned to be stacked. His penalty time does not start until one of the other 3 players' penalty times expires. Okay. All right. That additional player is going to sit next to the table area because we want to know that he's going to go in next. And if you have a goal with 3 guys in the box and 1 guy stacked, the 3 guys in the box will be released, but the guy stacked has never actually served any time yet, although he's not allowed to play. All right. So he will then have to start serving his penalty time. All right. Okay. So, all right. This is regarding multiple fouls. All right. Okay. Any player already in the penalty box will remain there until their penalty time is released. So we've talked about this several times. The sequence of fouls cannot be determined. All right. The fouls will be administered in the order they're served. Okay. Releasable penalties will be served before non-releasable penalties. If a player has multiple penalties, they would be served on the basis of the sequence of the last foul. Okay. All right. The sequence cannot be determined. So this is just about knowing when the guy's going in and he can serve multiple times. All right. See, I changed all this, Jeremy, on mine. That's okay. You're fine. Go back. Oops. You want to go in this situation? No. Next one.
Okay. I'll go back. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. From current slide. Forward. Okay. This is an interesting situation, and I think it's just, we want to be consistent. It's not really in the IHSA book, but it was in the National Federation. Official shall withhold his whistle until a second defensive foul is committed unless there's a scoring opportunity in progress. So the situation is, what was a scoring opportunity in progress, an imminent scoring play? And the NFA, the National Federation defined it as, you must be in the attacking half of the field. That makes sense. And you should be continually advancing towards the goal. So you have a second defensive foul. All right. Are you going to kill it right away? Well, if the guy's driving towards the goal, all right, you're gonna hold your whistle for a moment. All right. If the team takes the ball behind the goal line extended, he's no longer advancing and you're going to stop the play. But if he starts behind goal line, we can have the play continue to be in progress. But once he comes above the line, okay, and he goes back, then we're going to kill it again. And we're only going to allow one shot because basically we have 2 defensive fouls here. All right, so we're thinking imminent scoring opportunity. So 1 shot is an imminent scoring opportunity. A second shot would not. Now, what I put in parentheses here is when does that shot end? So just because the ball hits the goalie doesn't mean the shot's over with, because I've seen balls hit the goalie, land in front of the goalie, spin, and spin back into the goal. That's still a shot. So we want to be careful on how quickly we kill it. Does that make sense? Okay, next. Okay, so these are the things I'm going to kind of quickly go through because they're just editorial changes. They're just things that they've changed the wording, all right? If the team cannot keep 10 players in the game because of fouls or injuries, they can continue the game with less than 10 players. But onside will be defined as 3 players on the attack half of the field and 4 players on the defensive half of the field. Installing rules can still remain in effect. That's all we're saying here. So basically a team with less than 10 players would be allowed to play at full strength if we didn't have these same onside commitments. That's what we're saying here. Okay, so that's kind of in a situation where if we have 3 guys in the box, think about it, all right, and we're facing the ball off, that guy facing the ball off, he can't cross midfield because now they will no longer have 4 players on defensive half of the field. Okay, next. So again, these are just editorial things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in it. All right.
Tom,
Yes.
John Graff, you said 4 players. Are we counting the goalie as one?
Yeah,
of
we're
4
counting the goalie
players?
as a player, John.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. Okay. I don't know. This is just pretty much talking about offsides. I mean, the over and back. To me, I didn't understand why it was put in there. Okay. It's just the same thing. If you once you get the ball in the attack half of the field, all right, and you pass or propel the ball back into the defensive half of the field, and the offensive team was the last one to possess it and last touch it, all right, unless it's a shot, there'll be immediate turnover, okay, or a play on. So it's just clarifying it. Next. Okay. And again, this is just a clarification. Realizing the portion of the cross of the goalkeeper outside the cylinder above the crease is subject to being checked, okay, except when the ball's in his cross. So if he's reaching for the ball, you can check that goalie's cross if it's outside the cylinder. But if the ball's in his cross, he's collected it, you cannot check his cross. Okay, next. Next. Okay. Again, we're talking stalling here, all right? In order to call a stall, the defense must be attempting to play the ball, all right, if the ball's in the attack box. That's all that says. Okay. Simultaneous fouls, all right, shouldn't be any different than what we've been teaching the last few years, all right? Team has possession or is entitled to possession, the same simultaneous foul sequence works. Okay. That's okay, keep going. Points of emphasis, sportsmanship and conduct. These are all in the back of our book if we want to read them. I think what we want to be aware of is the equipment and uniform changes. Are we going to be checking shoulder pads? I'm not checking shoulder pads. All right. We should bring it to the attention that the home team should be wearing the white jersey. Okay, that's going to help us so that we don't show up with 2 teams with dark colored jersey. All right, face-offs, we talked about the changes this year. They're going to stand, the palm's going to be up, they must play the ball. All right. What else? Those are the keys. Player safety, again, we've talked about targeting defensive players. Okay, we've talked about all that. But now we've added the guy that's on the ground that gets body checked. That's a 2 to 3 minute non-releasable penalty. Okay. And they said that the official mechanics manual, they're now using USA Lacrosse 2 and 3 man mechanics manual for references. So we're going to use that in the federation. Okay. All right. Next. Okay. Now we're all done with that portion. Any questions?
Hey, Tom, it's Bob Walters. I just posted this. Do you want to clarify if a goalie's in the crease, his cross is outside of the crease,
Yes.
can they check his gloved hand versus the cross? Cross is legal, right? Outside the crease without possession. Can
Where's
they check his gloved hand if his hand is outside the crease?
boy. My first instinct would say yes, because he's outside the crease. If his body's outside the crease, he can be checked. I have to check that one to make sure, but I would
Yeah,
say,
that's my thought too.
Yeah.
I'll look it up as well. We'll
yeah.
talk after.
Anything else?
Chris Marks here. I got a question. Now that they're not going down for the face-off, does that mean that we can't play the ball when they're on the ground on a scrum or something?
We could always play the ball on the ground, couldn't we, Chris?
We could but we were saying because you go down for a face-off, you can play the ball on the ground. Now that you can't play the ball on the face-off on the ground, you can still go down on the ground and play the ball. Is that correct?
So the rule that I read, okay, let's see here. I'm looking at my stuff. Says you must maintain standing. But for the face-off, I mean, I think you're going to pop the ball out. I don't think you're going to dive down on your knees to get it, but I think if you did, it would probably be a violation.
No, but in another part of the game, when the ball's down by
You
the
can play the
goal,
ball on the ground with, later on, right? Yeah, any part in the game you can play the ball on the ground, but on a face-off, they want you to standing.
okay. Thank
Am I
you.
answering that?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Hey, it's Russell. I got a question for you.
Sure.
Just to be clear, if you're checking the stick of a goalie outside of the crease, you of course are only talking about if the ball is within 5 yards. Is that correct?
Yes.
In other
Yes,
words,
for sure.
Goalies
Yes.
just right. 'Cause
Right, for sure. Yeah. I'm thinking the ball's in the air and he's trying to get a rebound or something, a deflection, and he's reaching over for it. He's trying to catch a pass. So yeah, you can't just start whacking a stick if he's not within 5 yards. Right.
Right, because I've seen that happen where somebody seems to think they can read the rule that way and it just can't be. So, thank you.
Sure.
Hey guys, we're going to transition to face-off real quick as well. Tom's going to present on this. For those of us that have joined late, again, please, in the chat, you can do it directly to me. You can do it to everybody in the chat. It's fine. Your your name, first and last name, and your IHSA ID number if you have not done so yet, so we can track who's on here. Again, the link is posted on the GLLOA website. Again, credit will be given to those members who have paid their dues at the end of the 6 meetings. We're requiring you to make at least 4 of the 6 meetings and encourage you to make all 6 of them. Before we go to face-off, so I do want to share my screen one more time. The Georgia lacrosse officials, the other GLLOA, for those of us that have not, if you're just trying to get some more information on your own, in their resource tabs in their presentations, they have tons of presentations, and most of these are from last year. But there are some great presentations, anywhere between a half hour to an hour long. So if you have a topic that you have questions about, this is a good resource for anybody to use as far as lacrosse officials goes. So, you can just Google Georgia lacrosse officials, and something that's helpful as they continue. So I'm going to share now for face-offs, and again, Tom Cummings will be back at it. Here we go.
All right. So we've talked a little bit this year about the presentations and getting back to the basics. And I think face-offs is one of my favorite portions of the game. It's one of the most important portions of the game. I tell people when I go to the pregame, I love face-offs. I love watching face-offs. Everybody comes to the game. They want to watch face-offs. Let's try not to violate, because we don't want to just stand people up and call illegal procedure. So the people in the stands want to watch face-offs. I want to watch face-offs. So we need to communicate this with the players as we're going through it. All right. So Each face-off, learn something. Why is the one guy winning more than the other? And we've made some changes this year that are going to be important, but we have to go back and look at the basics that we've been doing incorrectly or not as well as we could. So we want to be consistent as a group. So go ahead and flip the next slide. So the new positioning, okay? All right, we're still going to bring out players, okay? We're going to put the ball down because of COVID, and we're going to say, go down together, all right? And then they have to stand, and they have to remain standing. And the hand closest to the head is going to be palm up. And we need to tell them that they need to attack the ball or the cross, but not the player's body, okay? And remember that the wings can play the sticks, but not the body if they happen to come in. And I don't see that happening, that they're going to come in and start playing the sticks, okay? All right, so we want to remind these players before they go down. Go down together, switch, next one. Okay, so we want to figure out a good position for ourselves. Okay, we want to put our whistle in our mouth or near our mouth, right? Because players will notice if we start moving other portions of our body. They'll watch a shadow and they'll see your movement and they'll anticipate your whistle. So we want to try to find a good position, a safe position, but we don't need to bail out. A lot of new guys, when they come in here, they put the whistle down and they run away and they blow their whistle. All right. All right. What the hell are we running from? Get yourself a position. Don't be a moving target. Be safe, wide base of support. Stay and watch what's going on. Next, go ahead. So I think what's going to be important is our pregame. All right. I think we're going to need to meet with the players before the game. Explain them on what you're looking at, what you want, and if they have problems, they need to speak to us, respectively address. You can ask them, what did you think about the last face-off? How are we doing? Somebody all you tell you if he thinks the other guy's cheating. Okay. All right. So we're going to stand them together, and then we have to observe that there's several different things that we're trying to watch for. We're going to, okay, let's go to see what the next slide is. Okay. All right. So the big thing is this. We are dictating the fairness of the face-off. Now it becomes who has the better skills. We want to make the players go down together simultaneously. We're going to instruct them to do the basics. Crosses are parallel to the midline. Crosses are perpendicular. Nothing in the neutral zone. So what's the neutral zone? All right. Players don't understand the neutral zone. The neutral zone goes up to the heavens and down to hell, straight up and down. And then it goes from goal line to goal line. They can't put their head in there. All right. They can't put their knee in there. They can't put their elbow in there. So we need to be aware of where the neutral zone is. Now, we have about 12 things to look at. All right. And we have to get good at consistently checking them off quickly. We don't want those kids to be down there too long. Okay. Once we're satisfied that we got them in the right position, we're going to say set and tell them that they can't move. Now, I do all this in my pregame to make sure that the kids know what's going to happen. Go ahead and flip to the next one. So before the game, before in the pregame, we're going to inspect their crosses and tell them you can't have any tape on the head if you're using it for a face-off. Next one. Okay. So we're going to tell them to go down, and then we're going to move them. All right. We have to move them to the right position. We have to make sure that their heads are equal, and that when we put that the ball is now centered between the two crosses. We're not putting it down. It's already down there. So we have to make sure that it's even. All right. Then we're going to say set, and we're going to whistle, and we're going to vary our cadence. Okay. We don't want to get into a pattern. We don't want to get complacent. Okay. We want to be in our position for a good reason. Next one.
Tom, can I quickly clarify? We said move them. Our last year we were not touching their sticks. That this year
we're not physically moving them. Verbally, we're telling them, black, move to your left, move to your right. I will tell them beforehand if the last face-off didn't go well, I'll say, listen, I need the ball centered. I need you to get tip to stop. Okay. And I'll actually show them what I'm talking about. This is where the ball stop is. This is where I want the tip of your stick. But I think there, and again, it depending on the level of play. Okay. If you've got a freshman team, although these kids have played, but we have new schools playing, you're going to have to be a little bit more instructive with them. Okay. If you're doing a youth game, all right, you don't need to, they're not going to learn anything in a youth game by violating them every time. If you're doing Loyola New Trier, you make a mention, the better teams, hey guys, I want a legal face-off, get down the right way. If you don't do it right, I'm going to take the ball away. So it depends on the level that you're at and the quality of the teams. Some of these new teams out here, you're going to have to instruct them better than you were for the more experienced teams. All right, go. Okay, so here's the things we're talking about. When you come up there and you get ready to face off, you got to know the situation on the field. Is the clock right? Okay. If there's a guy in the penalty, right, box, what time is he coming out? And if the penalty expires during the face-off, which is possible, okay, can he be released? All right. And normally he can't come out until possession is declared. Okay. Now, whose responsibility is that going to be? That's going to be the wing official to know that. But you're going to count players on the field. So this is all before you even decided to put the ball on the ground. Now, because of COVID, we're putting the ball on the ground. And then we're backing off and we're saying down together. And then we're going to verbally adjust the players. And what are we looking for? The players got to stand. They got to remain standing. The gloves cannot be touching the head of the stick. So we made them put tape or color on the head of their sticks so I can see the difference between the head of the stick and where their glove is. And they can't have the same color glove as the head of the stick if there's no area in between there. Okay. So we want to make sure that we have some kind of differentiate between colors. The fingers are touching the ground. I mean, how many kids have told me I'm the only one that's telling them they have to touch the ground? Okay. Because if I'm not touching the ground, I have an advantage because I have a quicker wrist snap than they do. Again, steps parallel to the line, the heads are verticals. You're going to move the players. All right. Body to the left of the cross. You think that's natural? Some of the youth kids, some of the newer teams aren't going to know that. I had a kid try to face off the other way last year. The neutral zone is important. Strings not touching the ball. Sticks and gloves up to, but not touching the 4-inch line. Okay. Basically, you want to make sure that we put the ball in the middle. If their heads are equal, then the ball will go in the middle and we'll have a fair face-off. All right. Play the ball or the cross and not the body. Once I'm satisfied, I'll say set, pause, step back, whistle. Next slide. Okay. One of the limitations was off the center line. Okay. This is a really interesting one. What's center line? Some schools don't have a center line. We know that if they don't have a center line, we can actually potentially violate them on the first face-off. I wouldn't recommend it, but it makes our job difficult. So we move it over. We try to find something that's parallel that we can use as a reference point. I think you need to inform the coach. You need to inform John Vetter. You need to inform the AD. Okay. How many times I went to one of the schools a couple years ago? 3 weeks later, I came back and the coach said nobody ever told him that the center line was illegal. I said, Coach, I was here 3 weeks ago. I told you that. Okay. I remember Rogowski went in there and told them the same thing. Okay. But they never, at that point, it's the first 3 weeks of the season. I'm giving them a break. Now I've gone back the second time. I'm taking the ball away from them. It doesn't help our situation if there's no center line. Next. Okay. Everything's to the left of the cross. You don't think this ever happened? Yeah, it does. Youth players, underclass players. This may happen with the newer schools this year. Next. Parallel. Okay. All right. Who's going to get responsible for this? Okay. When you come in as a face-off man, you got to make sure they're parallel. Okay. So you can't start 10 yards away, which I've seen guys do, and tell me that they're parallel. You need to stick your head over the top, look down the line, back off before you say set. Okay. Next one. Perpendicular, back straight up and down. Okay. That's the same thing. Vertical. So this guy in the top has an advantage because he's already halfway over the ball. Next one. Okay. The back of the cross, the plunges, all right? I can get it up and get it out. All right, if the guy picks it up and starts running on the field, we know that's a violation. Okay, you should get first motion. They say one step. Okay, if he picks it up, we want to try to get the ball out and up. All right, I don't want to pick it up, taking 2 steps or 1 step. He gets into the back of his cross, he may get rid of it immediately. Next one. Biggest one for me, and I've been preaching this for years before the NCAA came out with it. All right, before the Federation came out, the ball needs to be centered. All right, definite advantage here. You don't think this would happen? It won't happen in the game. But if I let the ball trail to one side or the other, that man is at a disadvantage. So I need to get the ball centered. And the way I do that by telling them the tip of my cross to the stop of their cross, not to the end of the head of the cross, but to the stop of the cross. Next one. Okay, after the whistle, okay, watch for that free hand. That's what we get in trouble with. We said that now after the whistle, we're looking for contact to the stick and not contact to the body. So I can't come up because I'm bigger and stronger and just check this guy out of the way. Okay, that's a violation, and I'm going to give the ball to the other team. All right, you're going to single possession. All right. I always recommend that let the faceoff guy do it. He's there. He's in the vicinity. The other man, the wingman in a 2, all the way down and restraining him. Okay. All right. The bench side official in the 3-man should not be calling violations 20 yards away. Okay. If the helper wants to call, that's fine. But as we go through some 3-man at the end here. All right. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So again, I mentioned this earlier, stay with the ball. You don't have to run away. Don't start 10 yards away and then don't run away. Okay. Move with a purpose. And if there's a lot of stuff going on, stay there and watch what's going on. If your head is moving, your body's moving, you're a moving target that players don't know how to get around you. So stay where you're at. Okay. All right. And stay with the ball as long as you can. Go next one. So post face-off, okay. Continue to officiate the face-off as long as you can. Watch for the push. Watch for the playing with the free hand. You can have a quick play on, but don't let it go too long. We know that when we let play-ons go too long, the guy gets upset and then slashes the other guy. And now we have a simultaneous penalty, a loose ball push and a slash. And we all know that nobody likes simultaneous penalties except Tom Cummings because he puts them on every single test. Okay. All right. All right. If you have a violation, all right, the players need to drop the ball directly to the ground. Okay. Rolling away to prevent a quick restart is a delay of game penalty. All right. We don't want to do that, but tell the kids drop the ball. Don't release the players from the wing, from the restraining box. All right. Until the whistle is blown. Okay, all right, next one. So positioning, referee positioning, okay? Straddling the line, you don't straddle the line, okay? That's not a good position for us, okay? All right. Give me a second here. Okay, I always like the 90-degree angle, which is right over the top, because now I can see the ball is in the middle and I can see the heads are squared up. And I see a lot of guys, I'm not saying it's wrong, but they take a 45-degree angle away from this. Well, when you take a 45-degree angle, you skew whether the ball is straight or not. And as you're walking back to that 45-degree angle, that face-off player is moving his stick to gain an advantage. So I don't understand. 5. Start at 90, go over the top, look down the line, step back. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay. So that's my advice. Look over the top. You can see the heads of the crosses. You can see the neutral zone. You can see if that guy has his elbow in there. But if you're in an angle, you can't tell if that elbow's in there or that foot's in there. So my advice, all right, is to stay at a 90-degree angle. You can move it a little bit, vary your cadence, but not so much your position. And now the players know where to go when you're stepping back. Okay. Next one. Wing play. All right. Remember, okay, if you have a man down, you have to leave a wing open. Okay. All right. Remember, if as a wing, all right, you're looking not at the face-off, you're going to let your man in the middle of the field handle the face-off. You're not going to be calling flinch violations. All right. If you're the wingman, you should be back at the top of the restraining box. Okay. And you're looking at the wing players and you're looking for the contested wing players. If you got two guys in the wing standing next to each other, I'm looking at that area more than the guys that are on each end of the wing, because those two guys that are standing together are probably more likely to beat the crap out of each other. Next one. It's just flip. That's the same thing. Go ahead. I'm going to skip this one for time's sake. 3-man. All right. So 3-man. So I look at it from this standpoint. It's another way to look at it. You got 3 circles of responsibility. The single side, he's the referee. He's the guy in charge. He's going to have the smallest circle. He's going to look at the heads of the crosses. He's going to make sure that the ball is centered. He's going to make sure that nobody's grabbing the ball. He's going to make sure that heads are straight. All right. The ball's in the center. The fingers are on the ground. All right. The helper is going to watch a little bit bigger area. He's going to watch for body leans, a false start, a rolling motion. And the bench, he's going to see the big body hits. Okay. He's way back at the restraining line. I recommend in 2 and 3-man, you stay at the restraining line. We don't need 6 eyes on the face-off players. We want to make sure that the guys in the restraining line don't go over there to the restraining line, and the guys in the wing areas don't start beating each other up. All right. The face-off official in a 3-man game can stay with the face-off longer. He doesn't have to worry about any goal coverage. So again, like we talked about earlier, stay there, watch the face-off, set your feet as long as you can, and then communicate during the game. Check with your partners, discuss what they're seeing. What did they call a violation on? What do they think's going on? If I'm in a 3-man game, I'm the bench official, and I think I saw the guy twitch early, I might say something to my guys. Did you see that guy move? Okay. But I think we have to talk to each other and tell each other what we're calling, and then tell the players what they did to violate. Okay. All right. And then before the game, before we start the whole sequence, you got to wait for the bench to tell you that the field is set, to make sure that we got enough players on the field and then they're in the right areas. Next page, next slide. So single side responsibilities, you're in charge. You have the face off. You're the guy in charge. You're going to end up on the single side. All right. You place the ball on the ground when you're ready to begin the process. Step back 2 steps and you say down. You check the neutral zone. You make sure the ball is centered. Okay. You can move players in and out. All right. You want to make sure that the tip of your stick is to the ball stop. And then I move back in and I look above and down the line real quick. If all's good, I step back, say set, back some more, stabilize my position, blow my whistle. And again, we can vary our cadence. Okay. All right. I understand if it's a key portion of the game, I'm not going to hold my whistle very long, but I might say to the players, guys, be relaxed here. Don't jump this. This is an important face off. I don't want anybody to jump. Now, I'm not going to hold it real long in that situation, but I'm not going to swizzle it and just do it real quick. Okay. Let them settle in and go from there. Next. This is all 3-man helper responsibilities. Stop in an area to clear view of the neutral zone and the top to stop requirements. So again, if you're 10, 15 yards away, you can't see anything. So in a 3-man, go 5 to 7 yards. They recommended that if you are outside that soccer circle, you're too far away. Okay. Now, once the whistle's blown and you made sure that we've had nobody rolling through it and the ball is centered and everything's lined up, then you can start to back off. But again, if the ball comes your way, stop, set yourself, all right, and officiate the face-off. And they tell you that in a 3-man, you should speak only if it's necessary. Your primary focus is looking at the backhand and the neutral zone of the nearest face-off player. Identify the player's location of the wing players. So you have an escape route. Okay. Avoid contact with them. Get to your goal line if the ball pops up. If you see a violation, blow the whistle and call it. Don't assume that the single side will get it all. Okay. That's why you're out there to help him. But if you're 15 yards away, you're not helping him very much. Okay. All right. So anticipate which way you're going with the ball. Well, good. Next one. So the lead right or the wing official, the bench responsibilities. Make sure the box is clean. Okay. We get this a lot in the upper level games. Coaches are like, you can't sit this guy in the box. No, he can't sit in the box at midfield. All right. To start the faceoff. If he wants to be on the edge of his substitution box in his bench area, he can be there. Okay. All right. You got to make sure the field is all set. Make sure we have the right amount of players. If there's a player in the box, make sure, all right, that he's in the box and we don't have too many players on the field. One of the wing lines is clear. Okay. Then he's ready to play. Okay. He's responsible for both the near and the far wings in a 3-man game. And you want to pay particular attention to the players that are close together. Again, you have the big picture. You have the big hits. All right. You're not going to get that rolling through. All right. We have too many eyes on the face-off circle. If you're watching the rolling through, watch the guys in your area. And as your wing guys go in and they start beating up on people, you want to get that big chuck because we don't want anybody to get hurt. Okay. You have nothing to do with pre-whistle violations. That is not you. Okay. That is the two guys in the middle in the 3-man game. Okay. I think that's it. Anything else? What's wrong here? Huh? Again, my key. I've been harping on this for years, guys. Get the ball in the middle. That's going to make it fair and even. And then you're going to rely on the player's skill to determine who wins the faceoff. I'm done. Questions?
Knee on the ground on a face-off.
What's that?
There's a change to the rule book on page 32, rule 433B. They've added a clarification about the knees on the ground.
Okay.
After the face-off whistle, the face-off players are allowed to place a knee to the ground.
Okay. I don't know that.
It's just got posted on USA Lacrosse.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, all the rule books we've got received don't have that.
Very good.
Yeah, but naturally, that's
Naturally,
just
you're
how a
going to be up
face-off.
and going,
Yeah,
right?
that's just how a face-off has always been administered, right? The guys have been on the ground, so that hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is that the guys are going to stand up when you adjudicate the face-off. They can go to the ground and
Okay.
play the ball just like they normally could. Guys, don't be confused just because they're standing up.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, hey, real quick, next week, again, I have advantage, disadvantage, technical fouls, and again, knowing advantage, disadvantage can allow game flow. And then we'll continue on from there. Same time, it'll be the same link. I can resend it out next week. The last thing I wanted to do, leave you guys with our website again, GLLOA. The training, I'm going to post this video under the 2022 trainings. Okay, so I'll record this and post it there. The links are right here. So if you want the link, again, that's all you got to do is click on it. It's right on the main page. For level 2, we're using the same link every meeting. Okay, it's right on the main page. And again, we'll get you, once we have the 6 meetings done, we'll go ahead and get your clinic credit to you. Again, you have to be a paid GLLOA member in order to receive that credit. So if you haven't paid your dues yet, make sure you do that. You can keep on attending the meetings. We want to make sure you guys learn and get better. If I'm going to stop the recording now,